everyone, my name is Martha Arrington and I'm an artist, educator, and certified Zentangle teacher. And today I want to share with you a fun and relaxing Valentine themed Zentangle drawing. The word Zentangle can be a bit intimidating when you first hear it, and so I think a lot of people are kind of turned off or think that they need some sort of formal art education to participate or do the drawing method. But I want to put those fears at ease and hope that you will join me in this really relaxing drawing method. There are kids as young as 4 years old who make Zentangles. You know, really the only requirement is that you know how to write your name. You'll need some basic supplies for today's tutorial, things that you probably have around the house. You don't need to go out to a specialty art supply store and buy anything fancy. I will, however, link the products that I use down below in the description so that if you are interested in pursuing the Zentangle method, you can shop the traditional materials. So the first thing that you'll need is a piece of paper to do the drawing on. Now I use a Zentangle tile, which is a 3.5 square piece of paper. It's a little heavier, has a little bit of a texture compared to, say, a piece of copy paper, but if that's all that you have at home, feel free to do the drawing on that. Any piece of paper will do. A lot of times I have my students use Post-it notes if they don't want to invest in these Zentangle tiles, because they're a good what's the word I'm looking for? They're similar in size. So Post-its are a great option. You'll also need a pen. Now I use a Sakura Pigma Micron pen in an 01 size, which is an extra fine tip point, very small. Any ballpoint pen will do, just try to find the smallest tip that you can. And that's only because we do very intricate drawings, and so that smaller tip helps us get into those tight areas. You'll also need a pencil. Any number 2 pencil will do. And then we also use this little tool called a tortillon, which is a blending stump. Most of you all probably don't have that at home. That's okay. All you'll need as an alternative is a piece of paper towel, and we're just going to fold it until it creates a little tip that we can use to blend that pencil mark into our paper. So you don't have to go and get one of these either. So go ahead and collect the supplies: paper, pen, pencil, and a piece of paper towel, and we will get started drawing. All right, so let's get started. We're going to need a pencil first, so go ahead and just move your pen to the side. And before we get started, let's go ahead and just close our eyes for a moment, take a couple of deep breaths, and let's come into this practice with some gratitude. So if you can kind of visualize something that you're grateful for, it could be as simple as, you know, grateful for the food on your table, or something large like the health and well-being of your family and friends and community. But come into this practice with some sort of gratitude. All right, let's go ahead and open your eyes and pick up your pencil. And let's start by drawing a heart that fills up the paper that we're using. So yours could look a little bit different from mine, but draw a pretty big sized heart. I'm not touching the edges of the paper, but I'm pretty close. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill the inside of the heart with the word love. You could choose another word if you wanted to, but I'm going to just keep it simple and do the word love. I'm going to do a cursive style, use cursive style lettering, but you're welcome to just use straight lines if you choose. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to come up to the top and down to the side. And there's my L. Now in traditional Zentangles, we draw lines inside of this space, and it's called a string, and it divides this space into smaller areas. So essentially that's what we're doing, but we're doing it with letters today. Now I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to do the rest of the word I'm going to have my E touch the side. Now this isn't divided well enough. So I do have this space over here that's completely blocked off, but all of this is still connected. So we're going to figure out a way that we can divide this space into smaller areas. And the first way I want to do that is in the middle of this heart, let's just come down with our pencil and touch that word love somewhere on those letters. So now I have a space over here. We just want to close this off. So we're going to do that with our pen and not our pencil. So go ahead and put your pencil to the side. Grab the pen that you're using. And let's first trace over our letters. Take your time. I encourage you to get comfortable turning your paper so that you're never kind of making your wrist or arm or hand uncomfortable. Stop when you need to. You don't have to make a continuous line. Just one stroke at a time. Okay. I'm going to outline this entire word so that the L and O will essentially be connected. And I'm going to do that by drawing a line right outside of the letters. And this is called an aura in Zentangle terminology. So I'm just drawing essentially the same line right next to the other one. But when I get down here to where it gets close to the O, I'm just going to come back up and around. I'm going to go ahead and come around there. Down to the bottom. And there we go. So now we have an area over here that's all to itself. We have this portion down here. We have this area and this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do 4 different tangles, one in each of these spaces. We're going to start with a real simple one. And I think we'll do it right here. Well, you can decide wherever you want to have it. There is no right or wrong where it goes. I'm going to choose this space. And I'm going to start by just drawing some orbs or circles. But sometimes, you know, the word circle can be a little intimidating because we have this preconceived notion of what an exact circle should look like. But if we say orb, has a little bit more maybe flexibility to it to not look perfect. So I'm just going to go around the edge. They can vary in size, whatever you would like. They are touching each other. And they're touching the edge of the space. Okay? And once you have the edge done, go ahead and start filling in between and all that space in the middle. And as the spaces start to get smaller between the orbs, you can start to draw smaller ones, even very teeny tiny ones. And then the final step is to fill in any teeny tiny spots between these orbs with your pen so they're just a solid color. We call this the negative space. I need my reading glasses for this. These areas are so small. And there we go. The Tipple tangle. The next tangle we're going to do is named Bales. I'm going to do it here in this large space. Bales is pretty simple. We're just going to start off with some parallel lines. I like to go about a pinky's width distance from the last one I drew. Kind of gives an even spacing. Okay, and then I want to draw another set of parallel lines that are perpendicular to these. They don't need to be perfectly straight. Okay. And now we're going to start with some curved lines. So we have created these squares here. And on this straight line, I'm going to draw a curved line inside of, well, at least part of the square right there. Another curved line, so I'm going from one corner of the square to the other corner, making these little hills or mounds. And if you have a small section, like a square that's been cut off, just draw what you see. Okay. And now we're going to draw another curve underneath it. So we're going to kind of start to see these little seed shapes appear. So just take your time. This is just a curved line. And now I want to turn my tile or my paper, and I want to do the lines that are left in the same fashion. So above and then below. Now if you want to do it at the same time, feel free. But what I usually prefer is to do the same motion in the same place. So here I'm doing the same curved line on top of all the lines first. And then I like to go back and do the lines underneath them. But whatever you're more comfortable with. Take your time. This process will most likely take you longer than it takes me, as anything that you're not familiar with. So please don't rush. Please don't try to keep up with me. Take your time. All right, we're going to do one final thing. That is inside of each of these, which are no longer squares. They're almost like star shapes or diamond shapes with curves, curved edges. We're going to kind of fill them in with a smaller starish, diamondish shape. And then the final step will be to color those in so that they're filled completely with ink. Now I happen to have a pen tip that's a little bit larger than this, so it'll make filling these in a little bit faster. If you don't have that option, then it'll just take you a little bit longer, but please just go ahead and get started. And I will see you all when we're all done. I always seem to miss one. So there's one down in this corner here that I want to make sure I get taken care of. All right, we are done with our second tangle, known again as Bales. Okay. All right, third tangle. It is known as Cubine. It's going to start off the same way as Bales. So some parallel lines. And then I'm going to cross it with some perpendicular lines. Inside each of these diamonds, I'm going to draw a line, a horizontal line straight through it, so it divides the space into two triangles. And on one side of the triangle, I'm going to do it over here on the right, I'm going to draw a small little square in the corner and fill it in black. Okay, I always think it looks like a little arrow or something. So again, horizontal line from left to right, and then a small square in one of the corners. I'm going to do all of mine on the right side, and then fill it in so that it is solid. Can't see a lot of mine because I've drawn in this very small area, but I'm just going to draw what I can see. And voila! That is the Cubine tangle. The next tangle is another favorite of mine. It's called Paradox. I'm just going to do it in the last space I have left. I'm going to start by drawing a triangle down on one of the edges. So right here is the edge, and just draw a triangle. Okay. There's kind of an illusion effect here, so I'm going to start slow until you get the hang of it. You might want to watch the first one first and then join in afterwards. So I'm going to start in one corner of my triangle, and I'm going to draw across to the other side. Then I'm going to turn my tile counterclockwise. I'm going to start where I just stopped and draw across to the other side. Turn, start where I stopped, and go across. I think it's important to turn your tile until you get familiar with how this tangle looks, but eventually you'll be able to just draw, especially in the center where it gets small like that. Has very much an MC Escher feel to it. I love this tangle. Okay, now you don't always have to do a triangle shape. So here, I'm going to draw this irregular but close to a rectangle shape. It's four-sided, but I'm going to follow the same steps. Let's see, which corner am I going to start at? I think this one. Okay, I'm going to start at the corner, go across to the other side, turn my tile, start where I just stopped, go across to the other side. Until I'm all the way back around. And then you just keep going. So it doesn't have to be done with triangular shapes, but that's definitely an easy way to get started. All right, and now it's just kind of a matter of dividing up the rest of the space. So this here, I'm just gonna draw a line straight through the middle and do the technique in each of these. Now this one looks like a triangle, so this will be simple to kind of follow the directions with. And this one is irregular, but I'm going to kind of treat it like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, like a rectangle or a square. Got a little bit more space in here. They'll be pretty small, but I'll be able to get a few lines drawn inside the area. And voila, there we go. So we've just done 4 really simple tangles. Again, that's Tipple, Bales, Cubine, and Paradox, and these will all be listed in the description below. Before we start to shade and add some graphite, I want to go back and I want to kind of thicken up my letters, well, at least that inside line, that original line that I drew. So you can just do that with your pen by drawing next to the line that you already drew, but I'm going to just pick up this thicker pen and trace over it just to give it a more broad line. All right, now we're going on to shading. Let's start with our Tipple tangle that you see here. It was the first one that we did. And this is just a really simple shading technique where we're just gonna add a little bit of graphite to the edge, the inside edge of this area. Now I'm using the side of my pencil. I don't want to hold it straight up and down like I would if I was using it to write. I want to use the side, and I'm just adding a little bit of graphite to the paper. I can always go back and add more if I want. I'm just going to go around the edge of this space. And now I want to blend it in. So I'm going to use my tortillon for a portion of it, and then I'll show you how to use your paper towel if that's what you have. But you're just going to rub on top of the pencil that you put down, And you can even start to pull it out into the center, so you'll get some graphite even in areas where you didn't put it down. Now, if you don't have a tortillon, you can take that paper towel, fold it up until you get kind of a hard corner. You can even fold the hard corner over, and then use that to blend the graphite into the paper the same way that I was. And for the bales, we're going to shade. We're going to kind of circle these points where all these little seeds come together. Okay, so I'm going to just draw a graphite circle. I know it's hard to see, but a graphite circle at all the points where they meet. So these were those original intersecting lines, the parallel lines and then the perpendicular lines. Those original lines where they intersected, that's where we're drawing. I just love the shading technique on this tangle in particular. Okay, now that I have all these little graphite circles drawn, I'm going to go in and I'm going to smudge them and blend them in. So I'm just circling on top and maybe even circling a little bit bigger so that circle goes a little bit further. So it's dark in the the intersecting point, and then it gets a little bit lighter as it expands. Again, if you don't have the tortillon, you're just using the point of that paper towel to just blend that graphite into your paper. And there's our shading for the bales. Let's go into Cubine. So when we're looking at Cubine, remember these were diamond shapes that we divided in half so that there's a top triangle and a bottom triangle. I want you to choose one of those triangles. It's not really a triangle anymore with that square next to it, but I want you to choose either the top or the bottom and shade those in. So if you decide to do the top, I want you to shade in the top of all of them. Even the ones you can't see 100% of. And I think it's a little light, so I'm going to go and add more graphite on top, just making it a darker gray. I want a nice balance throughout my tangle. Not too much white space, not too much dark space. So if you have a tangle that has a lot of white areas like this one did, this is a great way to make it more balanced. So we're going to just put a heavier amount of graphite down. And then I'm going to go in and just kind of smudge this in. You could just leave it if you wanted to, just so it would stay inside of those lines, but I always like to blend it into the paper. Okay. And then Paradox is our final one. And what I want to do is draw kind of a line of graphite where these kind of points create kind of this curve within the drawing, within those lines. And then, as we've done before, we're just going to go on top of those graphite lines and just blend it in. And there we go. Awesome. And I think, you know what I'm going to do? Just because there's a lot of white space here, it's a little distracting and there's white space in there. I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just going to kind of create this little curve in here. And blend those in to give it, so it's not as white, and give it a little bit of dimension. Awesome, that's it. Well, there is one more step, but that is a pretty complete Zentangle drawing. So, you know, go ahead and congratulate yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, the final step is we want to add our initials, also known as a chop, on the front of the Zentangle, and then we'll sign and date the back so that we know when we did it. Now a chop is just initials, so here's a Zentangle drawing I've done before. So my chop is always my first initial, last initial, and they're connected here, so M-A. And you don't need to put it you know, out here in this white space. Put it somewhere slightly inconspicuous. You don't want to make it too obvious. You know, I might hang mine out here to the side, or maybe I'll put it over here inside of this Cubine. But you know, the art is not about my name or my initials. So that's where mine is going. You can decide where you want to put yours. And then go ahead and put your name on the back and date it. So you know when you created, if this is your first Zentangle, you can even label it. But there you go. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you're on social media, if you're on Instagram, please post this and tag me so I can see your awesome work. I really look forward to that part. You know, if we were in a class together, we would put these all next to each other, and then it's really cool to see the different variations of what people's interpretations of the tangles are. So anyway, I want to thank you again. If you liked this video, please hit like. You can hit subscribe if you want to stay up to date on other videos and tutorials. All the information I mentioned during the tutorial will be listed in the description section. So tools, resources, etc. will all be listed there. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, thank you so much and happy tangling. Thank you so much for joining me today on this relaxing drawing journey of Zentangle. If you've enjoyed yourself and you want to explore more, there are tons of great videos across the web on YouTube that will take you through the steps of creating other tangles that I didn't teach today and creating other types of Zentangle drawings. I also teach some Zentangle classes on Skillshare, which I will link below if you're interested in kind of an introductory lesson. You can get 2 weeks free with the link that I will provide below. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section below and I will get back to you. Until we meet again, happy tangling.